It's teaching the child to keep a secret from their parents. It's
No, I'm not saying I'm a Dr. Phil fan at all. But I was getting ready to start Tinfoil Hat Tuesday, and I had the kitties right there. Hi, buds. How you doing? Uh, Sometimes they don't realize you're just chilling with me. You hanging out? What about Phil? He's like, it depends on what's being said, not the personality. Oh, yeah, because Robert got me going back. I checked out some Jon Stewart. Now I will admit, it's not the same Daily Show I remember. I do think it's funny. He definitely gets the writers behind him. And then I think we've entered a period where uh, it's going to be okay to watch both sides, and then maybe see, maybe all sides are manipulating me, which I think I tiptoed in that ballpark. I wasn't saying it just to protect myself. I understand both sides play a Bernays-esque game. I think we need to do a key video that breaks down what certain things might mean what, because that's when I say that, I'm really covering everything from the introduction of all that propaganda to the subliminal messaging to the, pumping fresh air into the casino to keep you gambling. There's a really well designed control system in place. And then, I mean, every time horrific change is taking place on this planet, it's led by having the children turned against their parents. Now, yeah, I'm estranged from the kids for the most, but not really. I mean, we live on opposite sides of the country, and they're doing their thing, and doing I don't. I wish I was a famous breakdancing, Bitcoin trading advertiser agent. No, I don't, because then I would have had to use those Bernays X techniques to get all that. So it turns out I'm okay. She's okay. We're okay. Uh, but a lot of people have got kids that are like denouncing their parents, and there's a slippery slope. Unless we're really trying to drive headlong into the New World Order.
teaching deception
Very
and
curious about
interfering
this
between
one.
the child's relationship with their parent. Now, their issue with their justification for that is, well, if the child goes home and announces this, or if we tell it to the parent, then the child could get abused, the child could get judged, the child could get kicked to the curb. But they have to admit, statistically, that is very rare.
Yes, that's the problem. They keep using use the horror stories. Use this. That's why. It's why it sounds like sometimes it's easier to complain. Oh, I don't like this downtrodden or this disability or this thing. And no, it's not that at all. That is a byproduct and blowback from being told you all have to slow down for this tiny 0.0001% to get all the rewards in life because fuck you, bigot, you deserve it. I'm just saying, how is that mind fuck working out for people? Is that doing good? Is it 420 on that question. Perfect.
And if that's the case, that's what we have Department of Child and Family Services for. That's what we have Child Protective Services for.
Edge and I think they're corrupt as shit too. So that's the problem. All opinions are for entertainment and tinfoil hat specials because we're jaded. We're biased. I mean, it's a complicated story, but let's just say the school sided with the kids, not the truth. And then they, put the kids in a scenario. they did a little social experiment with our kids. No, it's just true. It happened. What can I say? I wasn't trying to get into this one, but I thought it was really interesting. Honestly, I was, what was it? Yeah, I just referenced them. I don't know where it went. Let's see where it's just, oh yeah, there's, I think is where I put it. Oh yeah. So I was going on this guy because I thought
Road here in
everybody follow it, or not everybody. Some people watch that interview, and some people think it's all a bunch of disinformation. And I don't know what the truth is. I don't. But for Tinfoil Hat Tuesday, I will say Project Mockingbird, not so crazy. It appears there's a little something involved there, and I thought I'd share a little something here with those who were interested.
Laurel Canyon, Hollywood. Lookout Mountain Road is a very famous road here. It is where the Lookout Mountain Air Force Base, the Lookout Mountain Lab was, which was the site of the U.S. Air Force propaganda Hollywood arm for the entirety of the Cold War, from the 1940s onward until the Cold War ended, essentially. Which is a good time to talk about one of my favorite movie scenes that I bring up sometimes in briefings that I thought would be a useful thing to just play on screen right now.
Listen well. It's true. When the people see the police, they will be afraid. But it is my experience that when the people ask questions that are not in their own best interest, they should simply be told to keep their minds on their labor and leave matters of the state to the state. We seal off the city. No one leaves. And cut the phone lines. Contain the spread of misinformation.
Okay, now, I'm going to go harder than the video itself because I would just scream incubators. Babies burning in the incubators and fucking princesses acting the whole wag the dog thing. Which they boil and frog that. Like they made movies. It's like, hey, we got you on that one. Now we're going to make movies and mock you because it was somehow okay. And then once again, it's just my opinion, but I think this one matches up with some actual quantifiable fact. Hey, it's Tinfoil Hat Tuesday. No one said it couldn't be problematic. It's just supposed to be fun, you know? It's full of UFOs and flat earth, reptilian shapeshifters, and deeper subjects than that. I was just going to let the, I wish I knew the chemical. It doesn't matter. The algorithm knows way too much. And when it doesn't, it just fills in the blanks. It starts guessing. Sorry, that's from other shit today. I'm paranoid. I don't know where the cat went now. And it's like Catzilla stomping on poor little Rollen land.
Now, this scene is from the HBO series Chernobyl, which this episode aired on May 6, 2019. And I remember watching it the week that it came out and being struck by the similarities between that scene and what had already been rolled out in the U.S. with respect to Russian disinformation. Now, at this point in May...
Okay, so the reason I picked this is because the rolling into the big story is going to take like 5-8 hours, and I thought I left enough in where I got the information from. I was going to move on, but they're still interconnected. Because it turns out that sweeping tide of color change revolutions hit a wall. And the wrong side used the infrastructure to win. And then the whole idea is everything changed. And then we got... A couple years later, we're in the heart of what he's talking about now. So I'm not saying Well, I do. I think it's all connected. But what do I know? I talk to tinfoil hat ducks.
2019, the censorship industry had not yet moved into the predicate of domestic misinformation. Everything under the censorship purview was still being done under terms like hate speech, targeted abuse and harassment, and so-called Russian disinformation, which was a big one, but that was seen to be a foreign-facing threat.
Well, it's funny because this guy's so good. He's very good explaining some of these things, but it was the meme war was heating up. It turns out a few ideas were so powerful they didn't know how to deal with it. And then, just like certain slogans, I love it. Because remember the Orwell thing. I mean, we're here. No matter what you hear or see, whatever Big Brother tells you is the truth. Really? That seems like a bad idea. I don't want to get woken up from my battery tube. I don't want to get flushed. I don't want to live on the protein paste. If it is the Matrix, we better overthrow it while it's still Matrixy in a computer program, not real life.
What was really interesting about this Netflix scene is it was supposed to posit the evil Russians, the evil Soviets, and what their government would do, the lengths it would stoop to censor their own people, especially in times of crisis or something of perceived necessity to the state, that they would cut off the phone lines and they would shut down all the means of communication in order to stop the spread of misinformation. Now, this was May 2019, which is an important date because this was 1 month before the Robert Mueller investigation came to a screeching halt when he imploded in front of the entire world at the congressional hearings and revealed that rather than holding sort of pocket aces with this whole Russiagate, he was holding bubkiss, 2-7 offsuit. Total.
Hey, that must be a gambling thing there because it went over my head. I was like, what? 2-7 offsuit? Oh shit! I obviously play magic cards, not poker.
That went a little fast for me. I am not certain of the person who originally copied that quote.
The firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with that.
Let me just help you. It was.
At that point, all of the censorship infrastructure that had been created around Russian disinformation was in a crisis of legitimacy moment. No longer could you prove the case or could you potentially take down the president in this Russian disinformation hoax. And so they switched to saying, well, you know what? The problem is actually coming from inside the house.
What the Russians have done is weaponized social media.
The issue is not just the Russians, but frankly, domestic disinformation. Probably more domestic generation of disinformation content is occurring than foreign. Frankly, I think in 2016, it wasn't that clear that the Russian efforts was all that sophisticated.
The Internet Research Agency.
Now think about that for a second. That deserves to make me choke up. So for me, it's like following the money. That's from the Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad, Poor Dad course. It's not because I'm crazy. Ange and I took that whole thing. I have notebooks. I didn't have the money. Here was the difference. I wasn't going to invest a single dime. I just got tired of being stupid. Yeah, no, I mean ignorant. I mean completely unwilling to learn a thing about what was going on, but then pretended I had a right to think and say shit. Because like I have said so many times, I showed up at Occupy. I was like, fuck you, bankers, I hate you. Is that a prostitute tent? Are they selling sex and heroin right there? That's a fucking barbecue and a drum circle. I don't know what they're going to change, but it ain't the system. Maybe they could change their underwear. But hey, who doesn't fucking love patchouli?
created these personas
to take over existing groups in the United States. And then once they had established that, they would then try to push the most radical possible position.
I think we talk way too much about foreign influence. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. This is where it all switches to us and so on and so forth. It goes down that road and it keeps going. Oh, wee woo. Yes, her breast meat is most disgusting. I'm just seeing if there's a Webby tonight. I'm doing it when it starts. Just, and I'm pretty jelly, but then I'm not. Because I'm also spoiled. Because I swam in, was that Paradise Island? Nassau. I've been down there twice. I can't remember the name. It's a fucking damn, hopefully it wasn't that kind of island visit. It was a Disney cruise before maybe, hopefully they weren't selling no kids off the ship. Because it was a good experience. But it was an experience. I might have to do a special on that sometime. Recall, it's too bad I can't get hypnotized. Oh, that's so sad. You see, this shit breaks my heart. And then, life is not fair. Dan Vask telling jokes that offend certain people. And it's, that's each their own. You have every right to get offended. I was trying to, okay, that's the Tucker interview where I was the guy we were just listening to. And this is what I think. Oh, yes, no, her to the boobs. Yeah, man can't live on crazy alone. I say. So the Dr. Phil thing was very interesting.
They're uncomfortable with the idea that a lot of these kids are just going to.
Now I admit that Joe, each their own. I love Jon Stewart, but at the same time, when I watched all the news reporters turn into actors, and then when it flipped and he left, and then some of the stuff he's done since then, outside of the animal rescue stuff, and the 9/11 stuff, which just very appealing, super impressive. No hate, but I will say I'm pretty much stuck where I'm at, because I'm pretty much on this side.
And interfering between the child's relationship with their parent. Now, their issue with their justification for that is, well, if the child goes home and announces this, or if we tell it to the parent, then the child could get abused, the child could get judged, the child could get kicked to the curb. But they have to admit, statistically, that is very rare. And if that's the case, that's what we have Department of Child and Family Services for. That's what we have Child Protective Services for. If that's the case, then you call in for some intervention if the child is being abused at home for whatever reason. Then you get intervention in that way. But you don't come between the child and their parent. The parent has the right to know what's going on.
Well, yeah, that and being fair, that thing up again, that seems bold. And I see, didn't they have to backtrack on the euthanasia for all? Like, hey, get your depressed 12-year-old can line up and jump in the suicide booth? Because I am so stuck on the first episode of Futurama and Bender trying to get a twofer with Fry in the suicide booth, and there he said it twice, so obviously this has to go over to Patreon. The algorithm just sucks. You can exploit it. You could Bernays-esque package it and serve it with Soylent Green, but if we, the normies, reflect upon it, and I'll throw myself in their category right now. It's probably not true, but if I say it, it's just screws your channel. See, I don't want the thought police. If I somehow go overboard, then I deserve all the consequences that come from it. But the thought police are not helping. I ain't like the Dream Police one bit. Ah, screw it. All right, I see that's 20 minutes. It's all falling apart a little bit. Sometimes. Let's see if we can find 25 or 6 or 4 to 4. That's a good tune. Cats. Okay, there we go. That's much happier. Not that music. That music made me want to. No good. That's adorable. I don't think it all's going to hell. I think most people want to be happy. I think most people would rather have a nice evening with their loved ones. And I think most people actually are in the middle. When you sell a gag, you have to commit to the gag and you just keep working the gag. And you got to make biscuits. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to make biscuits. And when you're making biscuits, you got to keep making biscuits till all the biscuits are made. So Tinfoil Hat Tuesday is not perfect, but it happened again. And that's always a good thing. And, committing oneself to selling the whole process. That's a good thing, too. And, man, is that kitty cute. All right, I got to touch the mouse. Oh, I bet that wants to touch the mouse, too. Man. All right, now if only Hunter wanted to get mice. He doesn't. It's like he's, strung out on the catnip. He sees... Fuck you, mouse. I gotta paint. I gotta paint paintings. Be a recluse. This whole... What a shit show. Later.